Good evening, everyone, and welcome to today's Value Talk. Today's talk is very, very interesting. It's a very interesting topic and a very interesting guest we have today. And without wasting much time, let me just call him. Mukul, are you there?
Yes, I'm there, sir.
Thank you so much, Mukul. Welcome to today's Value Talk. Right, before we go ahead, I'll just give you a brief introduction of Colonel Mukul, and I'm telling you for today's topic. We couldn't have got a better speaker than Colonel Mukul Saxena, who is a PhD. He is an alumnus of National Defense Academy, 85th course. Am I right?
So 81st, sir.
81st, sorry, 81st NDA. And which squadron, if I may ask?
So Bravo, and then fifth term I went to Mike. So
Okay, right. Bravo to Mike. Okay, right. So that means either you were a panga taker or you were a appointment. So right, I won't go into detail. So Colonel Mukul is a Sikh regimental officer, and he commanded his own battalion, 11th Sikh, and thereafter also Home and Earth TA battalion. And but he has had a very, very interesting, very strong academic and public policy profile. He is a PhD from Tata Institute of Social Sciences, Mumbai. He's a master's in public administration, Edward Mason Fellow, Harvard University, USA. And during this period only, he was also awarded John Kenneth Galbraith Public Service Fellowship and was the only Indian in the diversity committee. He is also an LLM in international human rights law from University of Essex, UK. He's also a Draper Hill Democracy Fellow, Stanford University. इस सब के बाद ना हम इन सब चीजों का मतलब भी पूछेंगे, ठीक है? And he is also a Chevening Gurukul Fellow for Leadership and Excellence, London School of Economics and Political Science, United Kingdom. In political science, he also attended a workshop on civil military response to terrorism, Naval Postgraduate Academy in California. In 2005, he became the first child advocacy fellow to the Harvard Law School, USA, and later he served as a consultant to the National Commission for the Protection of Child Rights in New Delhi. Besides this, he also has interdisciplinary experience with a cross section of law and policy and specialized in the area of ESG, public policy making, international human rights law, the law of armed conflicts, international law of peacekeeping, child rights, and refugee law. In addition, he also specializes in adaptive leadership, personal capacity building, and immunity to change. He was the founding professor of the Kautilya School of Public Policy, Geetam University of Hyderabad, and also established the Election Studies Cell at the Deen Dayal Upadhyay Gorakhpur University. He led a study on UP Assembly election in 2022. Currently, he is professor and director, Center for PG and Legal Studies and Center for Leadership and Public Policy. So, यार कुल आपकी introduction देते देखते आधा time तो इसी में निकल गया. But I actually wanted to read it out to everyone to, emphasize that learning never stops, and personal growth is something which we have to strive for. So there is lots of things to talk about in today's talk, and I will not waste much time. Mukul, can we have the first word you, and thereafter we will. I hope you have been following Value Talks. Can we have a word from you, and thereafter?
sir, yes. So firstly, sir, thank you so much, and it's always good to be back, sir. The folds of the army, the always never leave you. That's a pride for it. I'm truly humbled, sir, the way you gave my introduction. I mean, it couldn't have been better, but I'm really humbled the way you gave. And about me, friends, you all, sir, has told you everything. Yes, my journey started, and my learning, actually, education also was in the army itself. So from the army itself, I did my master's, went on study leave to Essex, did my human rights law. And thereafter, from there itself, I went to Harvard Law School, the second part of my study leave. And before I quit the army, I went to the Harvard Kennedy School to do my Edward Mason's Fellowship, which is the Master in Public Administration and Public Policy. So, but I served, I commanded my unit at the 11th Sikh. And then I also commanded the 157TA, and thereafter I left. So I kind of took premature, and then I took my time off. And I think more part of it was I joined here. Interestingly, I did a lot of political campaigning when I came back from Harvard in 2018 and 19. And then I just want to share with you about how much the army teaches you. And I in my last assembly elections, I did a study on how women vote in the last 10 days, how they take decisions to vote in the last 10 days. So that's kind of my work. At the moment, apart from that, I'm also heading the Center for Excellence for Public Policy, Sustainability, and ESG Research. But it's just wonderful. Thank you, sir. Thanks so much for giving me the time to talk. I have heard so much about the value talks, also the group, and I must admit, Ankur introduced me, and then Captain Vipul was very kind. And Sir Manish, sir, definitely, you all helped me come here and talk to everybody. It's more than that, great to talk to everybody and interact and share my experience as much. Thank you.
Right. Thank you, Mukul, and we'll take it forward. I'm sure there is a lot to learn from you, and especially for all the audience, our members, our family, because it is something which is, So when I circulated the link for this talk, तो मैंने उसमें लिखा था the aim of this talk is twofold. One is how to go about your personal growth, and second is how to make a career in public policy, ESG, and related fields. And we are going to talk about both these things. But before that, before we start our talk proper, in the chat section, I have given a link about the seminar, Value Talk seminar, physical seminar, which is going to happen on 15th of October 2023. It's a Sunday. It's scheduled from 1700 hours in the evening to 2200 hours, 22:30 hours. And we have invited 10 leaders from the industry as speakers to share with you industry-specific guidance. I'm telling you, it is going to be of immense value to each one of you who is either transitioning from uniform to corporate, or who's already in corporate and wants to have networking with people who matter and who also want to change their career. So Harshvardhan, you can lower your hands and we can question answer session. We will take your question, whatever doubts you have. So let's straight away. So if you have not registered for this Value Talk Network Transition Seminar, I highly recommend that you people register. And also, if you are not part of Value Talk family, we have so many groups. Please do join. There is a Value Talks YouTube channel. There is a Career Coach YouTube channel. There is a Value Talk Telegram channel. I'll be posting the link subsequently in this thing only in the chat box. Do join them. Okay, coming straight to, let's talk to Mukul. Mukul, first of all, what motivated you to make career shift in this particular domain? Could you share your personal experience of transitioning from the military to academia, and especially public policy, ESG? And it's a diverse experience you have. I have seen child protection and public policy and ESG, and then adaptive leadership. So many things you have done. So what made you transition to this particular domain?
So I think I can attribute and I can share with everybody, and that is what I possibly was lucky enough to kind of understand what the changes coming up. So when I went on study leave in 2001, you knew that human rights and Millennium Development Goals are the next big things coming up. For the first time, I think I was lucky that I made it. But I think what made me think today is, to be honest, I was not in a position to kind of compete after getting professorship here as a full professor. It's not easy to look at those people who have been in the academia for so long. And I've thought that that was one reason, that will be very honest reason about it, that you try to look for new things that you can make a niche for yourself. But more than that, so I think these are the fields that will make you relevant in the times to come. Most education will become relevant only in these fields. Today, if you look at, as I always say, that till 2050, we just close our eyes. These are the only big things that are going to work. And it is sustainability, which is Sustainable Development Goals 2030. Everybody is talking about every agenda of the conference is there. Climate change, we know how we're looking at climate change. There are so many policies. And I thought that this is the niche area that I can develop. But I also knew that there was not much, there is traction in it from a policy field, but then there's a whole amount of bureaucracy, because we still have the idea of the bureaucracy controlling more policies. So I opted to think that that the corporate side, nobody is teaching. I mean, if you see the internet today, the subject that I'm teaching, if you see the internet today also, you will not get many. In fact, in India, nobody is teaching ESG except for the fact that our university is doing it. So I thought that this is the time to take the plunge. And this, I think, is the most relevant skills. And just one thing before kind of be very brief, it just gives you a factual thing in two issues. One is, as you see the global economy goes down, I mean, imagine India, we are looking at 5 trillion economy in 2025. But the corporate or the assets under management, which is controlled by the big like Rockefellers and all foundations and big asset management companies, is already $150 trillion. So I realized that everything that will come up for change in policies would come from this corporate sustainability side. And that's why I think this is what it is. Across the world, very few people know about, technically it's not saying no, but how to articulate the direction of the ESG, environment, social, and governance. And to be honest, we as military officers, we have been doing all these things our years, okay? It's just how to put it and articulate it to the industry as such. So I thought my own skills, being in the army, I could understand a lot of things. And today, imagine the Volkswagen ad, which was that defeat software, which was put in the US, right? It was all about climate issues. It was all about climate, and they had to have a such big layoff. I think they're very, very relevant issues today. And if we all want to think of transitioning into corporate, other than going for the structured jobs of HR and security, this is the field we can always be ahead of the curve. And I think definitely be ahead of the curve if you take it this.
Amazing. From this, I take two lessons people should draw from this. First of all, whenever you are doing some course, first of all, choosing what you have to do, you have to be very clear. You have to very diligently take that decision. Okay, whether it is your DGR course or if you're planning to join some other course, just don't do it just for the heck of it because everybody else is doing. And if you are making a choice of a course, let's say DGR course only, then don't choose that course just because it is meeting the location requirement that it is near your home. If you are serious about your second innings, if you're not, then of course you can do any damn thing. So that's really hats off to you that you could do that due diligence and foresee the change which was coming. So that is really interesting. And I think I can only think of a book, The Road Less Traveled, of the two roads passing by, I took the one. Of the two roads, I took the one less traveled by, and that made all the difference. So can you first tell me what is ESG public policy, just to be so that everybody is on the same grid? What is ESG? What is public policy? And what is interesting about it?
Sir, we know the term corporate social responsibility, where the large companies were expected to take 2% of their profits and invest into social affairs. So when they reached out, they looked at schools, buildings, girls' education, vaccination, and health. But over a period of time, it went off to say in 2008 and 9, it brings us to the fact that will this work? Because we by then had started to think that climate change is going to be a bigger thing. And if we become so extractive as a corporate entity, we'll be socially responsible to change. So from 2008 and 9, the term came out as ESG, which is called as environment, social, and governance. So environment includes climate change, carbon footprint, water. Imagine Coca-Cola using for making one bottle of water, they're using 9 liters of, one bottle of Coke to 9 liters of water. So they said that this is a time when we have to strategically put the idea of social responsibility within the frame of the complete ecosystem of the corporate sustainability management. And that is how, and then the S comes up as social factors, which looks at human rights issues. Okay, getting laid off, getting maternity leaves, your redressal mechanisms, these are kind of part of the social. And the governance is everything that actually looks at both of these. Now, this is essentially called the ESG. Its relevance has really picked up now. It's particularly if you see I will give you two examples. One is if you look at ESG became such a big issue in the Football World Cup when Vinci Grand, the French big real estate company, actually went on to take laborers from India, Nepal, and places, and they all suffered the kidney issues, had inhuman conditions. And Vinci Grand is now sued in the French court for servitude and this. And there's a component of S that's coming up. So the social activism revolving around human rights has becoming a big momentum. I know there are offsets to it. Like Apple lays off and Cisco laid off in the US and Apple laid off and they didn't bother about it. But then this is picking up big. The environmental factors have been so important today that climate, because we are fearing that by 2050, 1.5 degree raise will actually reduce a lot of heat, glaciers will melt and flooding will take. So now what has happened is that we are, as I said, the corporates have $150 trillion. So now everybody, most big companies are trying to look at this measure to enforce climate adaptable measures. But it is not that they're doing voluntarily, because the state also comes into place. For example, Delhi said, okay, no diesel vehicles after 15 years. So if I continue to make a diesel vehicle, so I become irrelevant. So I'm also influenced by the government's policies, and that's called the regulatory mechanisms. And in putting it all together, the OECD study says that most investors are very ESG conscious. So for them to have investments, or for the companies to attract investments, they have to show a very clean ESG policy. So that is what is now shaping the international ecosystem. And I will request you to kindly visit the World Economic Forum website, which really gives you the landscape in which it is coming up. So if you look at from the financial side, the investors are looking at green companies, and they are more looking at green companies from the question. And that's what the term called stakeholder capitalism is coming. So I'll give you an example. In 2017, ExxonMobil comes and their shareholders say, no, we will not disclose our climate disclosures. And literally they had to resign, and the next board of companies had come because the shareholders said, no, you have to disclose. So it is in India, although we are saying our goal, a national goal, the 2070 for climate change, but we are also going big time into it. And I always keep on saying ahead of the curve. SEBI has mandated that from next year, all Indian companies will also begin to start. All Indian companies will also start looking at the ESG reporting. RBI is speaking of ESG reporting. So that's why it's very, very relevant. These are the things which makes us more things. Today, when we look at, even when we'll have meeting with the leadership coming up and others talking, very few people are really invested about understanding what ESG is. And today, if you go back to look at sustainability reportings, they combine two important things. They look at sustainable development goals and climate action policies. And that is what is relevant to us as well today. So that's why I think it's very relevant today, and the course comes up very importantly. As far as policy is concerned, we are not looking at purely the state making the policy. The public-private partnership has got to the idea that it is the corporates, the business, the government, the society will play an intervening role. And when I launched the school at the Kochhar School of Public Policy with a founding professor, I looked at these skills of integrating business, government, and society, digital economy, big data systems, macro and microeconomics, ethics, philosophy, Indian constitution. But some of the courses, we said that everything complete box should come up for a student to understand what it is.
So for veterans interested in ESG and public policy, what is the advice which you have for building a strong foundation or acquiring relevant qualifications in these fields? Because, so generally what is happening, either a person who's transitioning, if he's taking PMR, or if he or she is short service commission officer, they either do some kind of MBA or they do PMP or CPP, or they just do PMP, CPP, some certification, and along with that, they do DGR's resettlement course. Now, DGR has also started, variety of courses, and where some of them are really very relevant. But this is something which is really different. So, for veterans interested in public policy and ESG, while they are in, say they are in service only, say in their penultimate year, what advice do you have for building a strong foundation?
Sir, I'll take from your point, but I'll say and put a caveat also to it. I mean, just for all of us in the inner house, I mean, the circle of us, is that when we are opting for MBA and courses, there is a huge like of India or likes of people coming from the IIMs and others who are really going to make space for us. For us to look at new careers is the way we can really be really back into corporate life in a big show. See, for example, like if somebody asks me what are the most relevant things, I would say ESG in corporate sustainability show, space policy. There are nobody in the country offering space policy except few. Okay, climate policy and sustainability policies and leadership, of course, because I put this point across. Because if you see the World Economic Forum and the future of jobs coming up, it is behavioral psychology, creativity, leadership, and such upcoming policy themes. So when we are choosing, I would kind of really kind of persuade those people who want to leave to pick up very niche careers, because we have the strength that we carry from the armed forces. And trust me, I'm not making this statement here because I use so many examples of the armed forces in my public policy schools, wherever I go. So I think that is the way. And secondly, for those who are planning to leave or who are taking premature or even short service friends of ours and everybody else, please try not to, if I can suggest, that's right, okay, I can say that, is that don't take the run-of-the-mill courses. If you have the option, it is worth taking the risk at the point of time. And we are really positioned very well with our kind of management and administration leadership. We are best positioned in the industry to make a great difference. But pick up courses which are so relevant and which are very niche for us, which not traditional, even IIMs and management schools are really teaching. IIM is not teaching ESG courses, except one IIM in Indore is doing some part of it when they said, but nobody really teaching. Climate policy is nobody's teaching. Something will suddenly come up new. Try to take more online courses and then be prepared in the last 6 months to do better courses. I mean, that's what I'll suggest. But this is the way. Follow the World Economic Forum, please. I mean, that's a very good website.
World Economic Forum.
Yes, sir. World.
One should subscribe to follow that website. That is what you are suggesting. So are there some kind of courses online which can just make you aware of what is this subject all about?
Sir, Cambridge is offering an ESG and policy is quite a lot of courses in Europe, but they are online. So we can take it online courses from here. And also US universities are offering, which is the climate policy courses are being offered in Europe, but more in the UK.
Okay, let me put my question separated in a different form. Given your academic journey, I have seen your profile, I read out your profile to everyone, and it is super impressive. While I was, and I don't know whether people have noticed or not, all big names are there. There is Stanford, there is London School of Economics, there is Harvard School, Harvard University, everything is there. So, which is, kind of a dream profile.
Sir.
And remember, during our interaction, I asked you, were these all online courses or are these regular courses? And you mentioned regular courses.
Yes.
These are regular courses. You are on campus of those hallowed buildings of Harvard and all those things, which is a dream for most of us. So how does a veteran or anybody else for that matter, who is interested in this particular domain, how does one gain admission to such top universities? And especially veterans, how can they try?
We must follow up certain, that's what I did for myself. I follow the scholarship portals, and for all the veterans who are here, the Shivering Scholarship is open. It's a 1-year fellowship program in any of the universities in the US, which includes UK. The Fulbright can go to open. Right? And so there are other scholarships which is there. And I think where I think that I was able to make a difference was that I positioned myself as a military officer and who did a lot of things within the military. And we all do it, right? We all do it. And it's just that we should be able to socially kind of position it. And so that was one I think I did. But I also feel that the hobby we pick up is the hobby of interest, and we must pursue, or our interest has to be pursued even with the army. I had about 10 years of service when I was when I went to UK, and I continued to kind of parallelly continue with everything which was there. So I think for the veterans, we have to go into major reporting. I said, please follow the World Economic Forum, follow EU, OECD guidelines, follow India's Policy Planning Commission portals or Niti Aayog, Finance Commission portals. They give a lot of insights on what is happening, sir. Otherwise, we get left out. And the only business thing is just if you're not
So,
left out from the
can you just repeat?
so,
Can you just repeat these this thing?
so I was
One is
talking
you
about
said World Economic Forum.
so one is World Economic Forum, OECD guidelines, because it's very Europe centric and it tells you a lot about what's happening in Europe. For all of us who are really going into the policy domain, then major policy.
Can you repeat? World Economic
I
Forum
said
was
the
one.
World
Then you said
Economic
Niti
Forum,
Aayog. Then you said
and I will share a link with you, sir, and I'll show you one of the sites which is called Strategic Intelligence. We must at least
right.
try to go for there. Look at how OECD papers are coming. OECD writing a lot of papers on climate, also on ESG, sustainability. These are basic papers, very, very strong papers. Sir. And I will strongly recommend to follow the major policy schools or think tanks in the US. So it gives you an idea of three continents, how things are moving. Apart from that, India has really good places you kind of can go on. And our government documents are very strong. I will admit to that. And if you're looking at even sustainability, climate, anything else, look at it from the RBI side, because everything's about money. The RBI documents are very, very strong. Look at Niti Aayog's and planning now. Niti Aayog, sorry, not planning, Niti Aayog's documents. What I'm trying to say is that there's one part of it, right? One is think tank reports. Secondly, these major issues are common to all. So if you start looking at, if you want to go into the policy that I'm telling you, you must strongly like to look at sustainability reports of companies. Wipro makes a good, ArcelorMittal makes an excellent one. Pepsi makes a very good one. Nestle. So the two ways, if you keep following it slowly, by the time you're preparing to move out, you will be really in a position to choose what you want to do. And there is a lot of space here to kind of move around. So, I mean, I followed this way to move ahead. I don't know whether I was able to answer, but if there's any doubt, we can definitely.
No, there is one particular aspect which is yet to be answered, and that is how to gain admission to these universities. Sorry, I will not let you go without answering these questions.
I think the only thing where we kind of there's a whole about a social capital in our own job, right? And all that I did. Okay, I'll tell you how I went, right? When I went in 2003, my point was that the whole world was looking at human rights. And I looked at Sadbhavna as one of the very common themes to play out. And I will be very honest with you, the way to get admission was, I really looked at that issue. And I said, yes, human rights are there. And I done Sadbhavna operations and Sadbhavna actions. And this is the way we can change. So India is really looked upon for many years, particularly the armed forces really looked upon with great kind of respect. I must say that. When I went to the London School of Economics, I positioned it to the question of leadership in conflict areas, strong conflict areas. So maybe what I was saying was that we have to capitalize. I capitalized my strength of the armed forces and made it very socially relevant to the requirements of that moment. 2003 was human rights, very big thing. 2008-9 was counterterrorism and terrorism efforts because everything had happened by then. 15 was about democracy because Ukraine was going down. And I looked at how army becomes the flag bearer of democracy, particularly in India. So that's how I looked, because that's the time the authoritarian regimes were coming up. So I positioned myself to the social relevant issues and strengthened so I moved with the army frame. I might done that. Wow. So I have been able to do some justice to that.
It's very, very innovative way of thinking. Actually, I mean, we don't leverage the strength of our tenure in the army, and that is sometimes, that is what things set you apart. So
I'll just give you one example. If you got 1 minute, so today sustainability is the major theme is leave no one behind, right? Sustainability and climate change is leave no one behind because that's most important. The best example I give them is when I do camps in the academies. Our closure was only when the last man came in or last cadet came inside. Okay, so that's
Right.
kind of you look at, and that's why we think that our strength of the armed forces, our skills are very very well nurtured even outside, and we can nurture the environment as well.
Right. That's a great thing. Okay. So before I open the question answer session, one last question. As a founding professor and director, what advice do you have for veterans looking to establish themselves in academic leadership roles, or maybe in the public policy or ESG roles? What is the advice you would give them? Can you give them some kind of a career progression, not career progression, but the path so that they can do, like you said, there are some online courses, they can join those and online courses, start preparing. Thereafter, they can apply for a regular course, maybe if their pocket and their, time permits, and they how to apply for scholarships also. So, can you give some kind of guidance on this for anyone who is
For
looking to establish in this?
So the public policy is going to be the next big thing in the academic field, with and playing its intersection with either you say climate, sustainability, ESG, even lawmaking, democracy. So these are going to be playing up. Even armed forces, even the armed forces, a lot of issues. We are seeing how the things are moving today. It's a very policy issues. So if for us to enter the career, there's two options. If we make a decision, very conscious choice, we want to go into administrative leadership in the academia, for which we are well positioned and we can push. The only thing is that is one way of looking at. But if you want to go purely into academics, then invariably they require two things. There are two ways of going into it, sir. One is we entered through the master's and a PhD program. Okay, even a master's would do, but that would be one way of going into it. The second option is to look for professors of practice, for which you don't require a PhD, but you require industry experience, which we all have. So IIMs and all with the UGC coming up with professors of practice, a lot of vacancies are coming on the UGC poll on this thing website on professors of practice, with kind of our experience, and if we all can leverage it. Their sites are open, and all universities are hiring today professor of practice. All IITs, all IIMs, all universities otherwise are hiring, and their professor of practice are those who are not PhD but they're industry experts. So for us to position it this way. As for the question of ESG, sustainability, and the one which I am working, so this is the right time. Even if you start reading on your own a bit of it, and then you pick up some courses, it will be great. And not that I'm trying to advertise, but yes, I offer these certification courses of 6 months on ESG sustainability, where you teach you ESG. We teach you important things like the next important thing is going to be just transition, mitigation, adaptation strategies, and it'll be relevant to all. And so that's how we kind of move. I also feel air and space is the next big thing coming up, because with private actors coming to the air and space law, climate will be obviously there, and poverty alleviation. So if you look at those programs, as a military, I have to say, and you have to believe to trust me, that our skills are very good, and we don't have to feel that we can't make it. I'm also a live example in front of you who's made it. So we all can. Only thing is, when we make a choice of the course or the choice of the path we want to take, that has to be a very conscious choice.
Absolutely. And that is what I have been advocating. You must know your why. Why are you doing it? If you don't know your why, that means you're a confused person. And it's a very short, some 1 or 2 minutes video, which is there I think on the Value Talks or Career Coach. People must watch it. What is your why? So do very due diligence what you want to do and why you want to do it. And I'm telling you, it will help you, really help you in your career, in your second innings. Right. There was one question which was coming to my mind, but I think I have forgotten what was it. Yeah, you said that you are offering a certification course.
Yes.
So you means Geetam University.
No, sir, I'm now in Alliance, and I am now heading also the Center for Excellence for Public Policy, Sustainability, and ESG. So
Okay.
we are offering a 6 months course for every weekend, where we will teach
Okay.
you 4 main components of the course. One is ESG, its relevance and investing strategies, where you teach you about how just transition strategies and due diligence strategies need to be looked at next 5 years. So we do this kind of a thing. The second, we are talking about corporate sustainability. So how sustainable development goals issue look at corporate sustainability issues, and where we look at other aspects of how local communities interact and how corporate shareholder and stakeholder liabilities will be there. We talk about sustainable finance as one of the course in it. That course speaks about how finance, the international financial system, how is it looking at sustainability issues. For example, the EU has said that any product coming from third world countries and they're using high carbon footprint, before they enter into the Europe, it will have a carbon tax on it to pay additional for the kind of damage they've done. So they also, and the next course is sustainability leadership, sir, where we dwell, principally the idea is how does corporate decision making take place, and we dwell into a legal aspect of what it should be, in the sense there are two positionalities which we discuss. That's the course how it's designed. One is the idea of what Friedman's doctrine was, that I as a company am responsible to my own shareholders. They want profits, give them profits at any cost, and the moment I give them profits, it is up to them how do they want to come back to the society. The second theme is the World Bank has now come up in the 2019 that there is an element of social contract where you make profits yet are sustainable and responsible as citizens. So on these issues, a lot of reporting mechanism is coming. SASB is coming, which is already there. UN Global Compact, India is a member to that. Also, Indian companies are member to that. Also, UNPR India, a lot of companies are member to it. And like one of the messages I saw, that the SEBI has also mandated business sustainability reporting mechanism, which is there in 2004. So these are the things that is going to be there in the market. So that's what we are trying to offer.
Can you share the details of this course with us? I will put it in the forum so that anybody who's in, right, along with all the details of what is the curriculum and what is the fee structure, what is the class schedule and all, right? So then I will share it in the forum, right?
Can I take 1 minute? Just 1 minute, sir.
Yeah, sure.
Sure. It will be relevant for everybody who possibly looks at the decision. Is that it's all online in a hybrid version. So, but in 6 months, we expect you to come thrice to Bangalore, where you will offline. And I do the Army Wargaming, which I call them as simulations over 3 days. So we do the whole sustainability simulation and the ESG simulation. So everything comes up. So for 3 times, you'll have to come here. If those who are opting for it, rest is on online and on the Saturday, Sundays. Thank you, sir. And thank you. I just thought I'll just intervene for a minute.
Thank you so much.